Hello everyone, welcome to the class Structure Analysis 2. Myself Dr. Pritam Haith, I am the Assistant Professor of Vignan Institute of Information Technology. Today I will discuss lateral load analysis using approximate methods. The first thing is, what is lateral load? The load is acting parallel to the ground or parallel to the surface of the earth is called lateral load in case of a vertical building. So, due to the lateral force, what are the behavior of a portal frame building, what is the axial force, bending moment, shear force experienced by the different members such as beams, columns, we will determine in today's class. So, let us start. First thing is, you have to know what is portal frame. It is the assembly of beams and columns connected by a rigid joint is called portal frame. For the definition, we can follow. The portal frame can be defined as rigid frame that have the basic characteristics of the rigid joint between column and beam. The main purpose to provide the rigid joint to transfer the bending moment from beam to column. This is the main purpose to construct a portal frame. And if we provide the rigid joint between beam and column, the entire structure will behave like a unit structural component. So, here is the example of portal frame. This is a multi-storied space frame. It is a complex frame. This is one type of portal frame. This is the commercial building. This is the factory shed portal frame. These yellow color frames are called portal frame. This is the railway portal frame. So, everywhere in our surroundings we have observed, we are habituated seeing the portal frame. Now, once the lateral load, for an example, the load generated due to the seismic event or due to the cyclone, when the seismic event occur in any particular place, the force acts in this direction, okay, which is parallel to the horizontal plane, okay. So, the force is working parallel to the horizontal plane like this on the structure. That force is called lateral force, okay. So, due to the lateral force, the building deflected and the members such as beams and columns get stressed. After that, the bending moment, shear force and axial force occurs, okay. So, let us analyze a frame by different methods, okay. Here we will analyze a 2D frame, because 3D frame is more complex as we are starting the analysis of frame. So, we will only analyze the 2D frame subjected to horizontal forces or lateral forces. The lateral force comes due to the wind load or seismic load. When the wind load comes on the building or seismic load comes on the building, they deflected in the direction in which the force is applied. So, depending upon the magnitude of the event, the deflection occurs. There are two types of methods are available to analyze a frame. First one is portal method, second one is cantilever method. So, today I will derive the portal method and cantilever method, okay. To analyze a frame using portal method, we have two assumptions. Based on these assumptions, we can analyze a frame by portal method. The assumptions are as follows. The points of contraflexure at the middle points of the member of the frame. The point of contraflexure will occur at the midpoint of any member. What is point of contraflexure? A misconception is there among the people that point of contraflexure same as point of inflection. Okay, so today I will clear this misconception so that while you will face the interview or any competitive exam, this concept will be worthwhile for all of you. Okay, suppose let's assume a fixed beam is subjected to point load at midpoint, right? What will be the bending moment diagram? The bending moment diagram will be like this. At the support, the negative bending moment will occur. At midspan, positive bending moment, and again negative bending moment. Okay, so here the negative bending moment, here the positive bending moment, and here the negative bending moment. At this point you can see the bending moment changing from negative to positive, and at this point from positive to negative. So these 2 points is called point of contraflexure. So what is the definition? When the bending moment changes its sign from negative to positive or positive to negative, that point is called point of contraflexure. When the bending moment becomes 0 from negative to 0 and again becomes 0, that point is not called point of contraflexure. Suppose a bending moment is like this, from negative to 0 at this point, and again it becomes 0. So this point cannot be said that this is a point of contraflexure. So a point to be called point of contraflexure, the sign of the bending moment must change from negative to positive and positive to negative. That point only can be said that point of contraflexure, right? Now come to the next topic, point of inflection. The point of inflection is the point in the elastic curvature of the body. Okay, the elastic curvature occurs at this is the elastic curvature of the loaded body. Here the elastic curvature is changing at this point and this point. So at which point the elastic curvature of the loaded body is changing, that point is called point of inflection. So the point is same but the context is different. Point of contraflexure occurs in the bending moment diagram, point of inflection occur in the elastic diagram of the loaded body. Again I am explaining, the point is same, the location is same, but the context is different. The point of contraflexure will occur in the bending moment diagram, where the bending moment diagram changes from negative to positive or positive to negative, but the point of inflection occurs in the deflected pattern of the body or elastic curve of the loaded body, right? So come to the previous slide. So first assumption is point of contraflexure will occur at the middle point of the member of the middle point. The point of contraflexure will occur at the middle points of the members of the frame. The second assumption is the horizontal shear taken by the each interior column is double the horizontal shear taken by each external column. That means if you draw a member, this is a vertical member, this is support, this is support. So the point of contraflexure will occur at the middle point of the column. In case of beam also, the point of contraflexure will occur at the midpoint of the member, right? And the second assumption is, if there is a frame, it has 4 columns, the shear taken by the intermediate column will be twice of shear taken by the exterior column. So exterior column will experience, if the exterior column will experience Q shear force, then the interior column will experience twice Q shear force. Okay. These are the reactions at different point. This is a multi-storied building is subjected to different forces at different level. Story 1 experiencing P4 force, story 2 experiencing P3 force, story 3 experiencing P2 force, and story 4 experiencing P1 force. Due to this force, the shear forces is occurring like this. This is the point of contraflexure of these columns. As the force is acting in this direction, the shear force just above the point of contraflexure will be in this direction, and for the remaining members also just above the point of contraflexure, the shear force, the direction of shear force will be like this, and it will be same for the all the members. Okay, just below the point of contraflexure the direction will be changed. Okay, so in this way you can draw the direction of shear force above the point of contraflexure and below the point of contraflexure. For third story, as the force is working in this direction, so shear will be working in this direction, 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 right? And just below the point of contraflexure it will be opposite of the above force. Okay, just see here, the shear taken by the interior column is twice P, twice P, twice P, and the shear taken by the exterior column is P and P. Okay, this is for fourth story. Third story, this is Q, this is Q, and the intermediate column is experiencing twice Q. This is R, and intermediate column is experiencing 2R. This is S and this is S, and intermediate column is experiencing twice S. So we have understood the point of contraflexure will occur at the midpoint of the member for beam and column, and the shear taken by the intermediate member will be twice by the shear taken by the exterior member, right? Now let us start with the cantilever method. In cantilever method we have two assumptions. First assumption is the same point of contraflexure will occur at the middle points of the various members, and the second point is direct stresses in the columns are proportional to their distance from the centroidal axis of the frame. Okay, if you go far from the centroidal axis, suppose this is the frame and it has two intermediate column and two exterior column. So this is the centroidal axis, that means the geometric center of the structure is concentrated here. So as you go far from the centroidal axis, the stress in the column will increase. As you go towards the centroidal axis, the stress of the column will decrease. So the stress of the column is proportional with the distance from the centroidal vertical axis of the building. Clear? Let us solve a problem. Okay, so one problem is given. Analyze the portal frame shown in the following figure by cantilever method. Area of each exterior column is 1/2 of the area of the exterior column. That means these are the interior column and these are the exterior column. So the cross sectional area of this interior column is twice A and cross sectional area of this exterior column is A. So you can write, we will assume the points of contraflexure occur at the middle point of each member. Let the area of the each column is A. That means the area of cross sectional area of exterior column is A and area of intermediate column is twice A. So the total area of all the columns is, in a particular story, the total cross sectional area of all the column is A plus twice A plus twice A plus A. So total 6A, right? Let the distance of the center of gravity of the columns be from the axis of the column ABCD. The center of gravity from ABCD, this is ABCD, the centroidal axis situated here, okay? This is the position of centroidal axis, right? So, and this centroidal axis is situated from x bar distance. This is x bar distance, okay? We will determine what is the distance of centroidal axis from the left end, right? So the formula we will use a1 x1 plus a2 x2 divided by a1 plus a2. X bar is like this, x bar equals to a1 x1 plus a2 x2 divided by a1 plus a2. This formula you have used in many cases, environmental engineering, structural engineering, geotechnical engineering, in many cases you have used the same formula. Then here we will use the same formula. Geometric mean, we will calculate the geometric mean. So let's apply the formula. So x bar equals to a1 x1, the area of this member is A and the distance from here to here is 0. So A into 0, the area of this member is 2A, this is 2A, and the distance is 8 meter, this is 8 meter, okay? This is 14 meter and this is 18 meter, okay? This is twice A, this is twice A, this is A, this is A. So we are calculating the distance from here. So the distance of AB column from this point is 0. So A into 0, I write A into 0. Of this column 2A, what is the distance? 8 meter. So 2A into 8. This column 2A into 14, right here 2 into 14, and this column A situated at 18 meter distance. So A into 18 divided by A1 plus A2. So total sum of cross section of all the columns you write here, that is 6A. So you get x bar equals to 10.33 meter. That means the centroidal axis is situated 10.33 meter apart from the left end. We have calculated the distance, okay? Now we will calculate the axial force in various columns. What are the axial force in various columns? We will calculate like this. Let the axial force in column AB is P1. First, I would like to explain that as the forces is trying to rotate this building in clockwise direction. All the forces is trying to rotate this building in clockwise direction, okay? This P1, 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 these axial forces should be act in such a way so that the building will be in equilibrium position, okay? So first two forces I have considered tensile and second two forces I have considered compressive. So this, if this force will be acting in downward and if this force will be acting in upward direction, then only the building will be in equilibrium condition. This force will try to rotate this building in anti-clockwise direction and these forces is trying to rotate this building in clockwise direction. So those will be counteracted and ultimately the building will be in equilibrium condition. That's why I have considered this force and this force in upward direction and this force and this force in downward direction. This is the primary assumptions. Seeing the configuration of the lateral force, I have considered this force should be in upward direction and this force should be downward direction to be in equilibrium condition, okay? So we will calculate the axial forces in the columns, okay? Stress in column AB. What is the stress in column AB? Stress means P by A. So the first column, that is AB column, in AB column the forces is acting P1 and the cross sectional area is A. So the stress will be P1 by A, that is tensile. Okay. Come to the next column, EF column. I told you that the stress will be proportional with the distance from the centroidal axis, right? As the columns are going far from the centroidal axis, with the same proportion, with the proportion of the distance, the stress will be generated in that particular column. So here we will see the distance proportion, the distance between the centroidal axis and that particular column. Suppose this column I have to calculate the stress. Okay, from here to here the distance is 0 and from here to here the distance is 10.33. So I will write the stress in this member is, stress in AB equals to, so I will calculate the distance between this point to this point is 10.33 and the distance between this point to this point also 10.33 and P1 by A. So ultimately we will have P1 by A. This is the stress in AB. So stress in EF, what will be the stress in EF? The distance between that column to centroidal axis divided by left side to centroidal axis. This distance divided by this distance. For this column, this distance divided by this distance. For this column, this distance divided by this distance. Okay. So in this way we can calculate the stresses of that members. So for AB I have calculated the distance between that particular column to centroidal axis and the left side to centroidal axis, that is same 10.33 10.33. So we get stress in AB is P1 by A. Stress in EF, this is E point, this is A point. So stress in EF equals to the distance between particular member to centroidal axis divided by distance from left side to centroidal axis. This distance is 2.33 and the distance from left point to centroidal axis is 10.33 into P1 by A. So I get stress in EF equals to 2.33 by 10.33 into P1 by A. In case of IJ, this is I, this is M, this is P. Okay. So stress in IJ, what will be the stress in IJ? Will be the distance from particular member to centroidal axis and the distance between left side to centroidal axis. So distance between particular member to centroidal axis is 3.66. So 3.67 divided by this distance is 10.33 into P1 by A will be the stress in that particular member IJ. What will be the stress in MN? The distance between centroidal axis to particular member is 7.67. So Mn will be 7.67 divided by 10.33 into P1 by A. Okay. So this ratio, how I am calculating, you have understood. So in this way you can calculate the stresses in AB, EF, IJ and Mn. Okay. So once we calculate the stress in the column AB, EF, IJ and Mn, so we know stress into area will be the force. Okay, so here we can calculate stress into area will give the axial force in the particular column. Okay, so similarly you can calculate the axial force in AB multiplying the stress, corresponding stress into area, and the area for exterior column is A and the interior column is 2A. Okay, so IJ and EF is the interior column, so the area, cross sectional area of these two column is 2A, this is also 2A, and exterior column area is A. So here you multiply the stress with cross sectional area A, this is also the stress, multiply with cross sectional area 2A, this is also 2A, and this is also A. So in this way we have calculated the axial force in AB, that is P1, in EF, that is 0.45 P1, in IJ, that is 0.7 P1, and in MN, that is 0.74 P1. Okay, here you can see these forces is trying to rotate this building in this direction, this force is trying to rotate this building in this direction, so and this also trying to rotate this building in this direction. So to counteract this rotation, to make the building in stable condition, you have to try to push from this side, so that this moment can be counteract in this way, okay. So how will you generate this moment? If you apply here upward force, and here downward force, and here downward force, the building will be stable. This is a visual assumptions you have to take. Okay, so by considering these two forces upward and these two forces downward, the building will be under stable condition. Okay, so these two forces are tensile and these two forces are compressive, right? Now we will consider story 1. Okay, we will consider story 1. In this story, the point of contraflexure at this point. Okay, this is the point of contraflexure. About this point we will take bending moment. Okay, so what we will have, 40 into this is 10 meter, because 4 plus 4 plus 2 10, so 40 into 10 plus 80 into 6 plus 80 into 2, so we have total 1040. This is clockwise moment, and this force also trying or also generating this moment, because this is downward and you are taking moment about this point, so this force is trying to generate the bending moment in this way, in this pattern. So this is also clockwise direction, so you have to add this moment, that is 0.45 P1 into this distance, that is 8. So 0.45 P1 into 8 will be in left hand side. In right hand side, what are the counter forces? 0.7 P1 into 14, 0.74 P1 into 18. So these two forces are the counter force, so you have to keep these forces in right side. So 0.7 P1 into 14 plus 0.74 P1 into this distance 18. So we have P1 equals to 53.27. Similarly, in this way, if you consider story 2, we have these forces. See, we have calculated the forces, that is P1, here is P1 is working down, so here also another P1 will be acting upward, this also P1, this is 0.45 P1 downward, here also one force will be acting 0.45 P1, opposite and equal force will be acting here, this will be 0.7 P1, and here also 0.74 P1, this is 0.74 P1. Okay, now what are the other forces in second story and what are the other forces in third story? See, these coefficient will be equal. Here it is 1 is there. This coefficient will be equal for all the story. So only the value is different. Here it is P1, in second story it is P2, and third story it is P3. So we can draw this force direction in this way, as this is P1, this is P1, so this will be P2, this will be also P2, and the direction will be like this. This will be P3 and this will be P3. Okay, so P1 P1, P2 P2, P3 P3. Okay, here what the forces will be acting? You draw first the direction of the forces. Here 0.45 P2, 0.45 P2, this is also 0.45 P2, this is 0.45 P3, this is 0.45 P3. Okay. Similarly, this here also what the forces will be acting will be like this, like this. This is 0.74 P1, 0.74 P1, this is also 0.74 P2, 0.74 P2, this is also 0.74 P3, 0.74 P3. Okay. So in all the story the coefficient will be same. Here the coefficient will be 1, here the coefficient will be 0.45, here the coefficient will be 0.7, and in this line the coefficient will be 0.74 for all story. 1, 0.45, 0.7, 0.4, here also 1, 0.45, 0.7, 0.74, here also 1, 0.45, 0.7, 0.4. Okay. Here also another force will be acting, 0.7 P2, 0.7 P2, here also 0.7 P3, 0.7 P3. Okay. So in this way we can write here the forces diagram and the value of forces. Okay. Now taking moment about this point, what we will have, 80 into 2 plus 40 into 6, 40 into 6 plus 0.45 into 0.45 P1 into 8 equals to 0.7 P1 into 14 plus 0.74 P1 into 18, right. So taking moment about this point, that is point of contraflexure of BC, we will have 40 into 6, 40 into 6 this distance, 80 into 2 that is this distance, plus 0.45 P1 into this distance, that is 8. This point will not be there, equals to 0.7 P1 into this distance, that is 14, plus 0.74 P1 into this distance, that is 18, right. So we have P2 we calculated 20.49. Similarly, if we consider story 3, we have the forces that I wrote in the previous slide. In this story, what are the forces will be there? It will be P3, it will be 0.45 P3, 0.45 P3. So in this way you can write all the remaining forces. Now we will take the bending moment about the point of contraflexure of DC. We have 40 into 2, we have only 40 into 2 plus these forces, 0.45 P3, here 0.45 P3 is acting. So 0.45 P3 into this distance, that is 8. So 0.45 P3 into 8 equals to, these forces are trying to upward direction, trying to rotate this building in anti-clockwise direction. So equals to, you can write 0.7 P3 into 14 plus 0.74 P3 into 18. So we calculate P3 equals to 4.09 kilonewton. So in this way you can calculate P1, P2, P3 value. Now let's calculate the beam shear in all the beam present in the building. Okay. So first we will consider story 3, then we will consider story 2, then we will consider story 1. Okay. Here I have written P1 value is 53.27, P2 value is 20.49, P3 value is 4.09 kilonewton, right? Now what the forces we have to consider here. P1 is acting downward, same and equal force will be acting upward. P2 will be acting downward, same and equal force will be acting upward. P3 will be acting downward, same and equal amount of force will be acting upward direction. Okay. Here 0.45 P1 is acting downward direction, so equal and opposite amount of force will be acting upward direction. This is P1, this is 0.45 P2, this is also 0.45 P2, this is 0.45 P3, this is 0.45 P3. Okay. This is 0.7 P1 acting upward, so this will be acting downward, it will be opposite, it will be opposite, it will be opposite, and it will be opposite. It is acting upward, so it will be opposite, 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 and opposite. Okay. So in this way you can draw the forces. Okay. So here just calculate beam DH. In beam DH what we have, this is DH. Okay. So in this DH what the forces are acting, this is downward, this is upward, 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 downward, upward, downward, upward. Okay. So here what we have in beam DH, you see in beam DH it is P3, it is P2, this is P1. So in beam DH what the bending moment will be there in the column, that same bending moment will be there in the beam. So here P3 is acting upward. So while you will calculate the beam shear, the same forces will be acting in this. What are the forces is acting in this column? The same forces will be acting in this beam. Okay. So here P3 is acting upward. So upward force will be positive, downward force will be negative. Okay. So in the column P3 is acting upward. While you are calculating in the beam, just reverse the sign and keep the magnitude as same. So as this P3 is acting upward, here the P3 will be acting downward, the same amount will be there. So as I told you, downward force will be negative. So shear force in DH will be negative PH, that is minus 4.09 kilonewton. What are the forces will be there in the column? Just magnitude will be same, but the direction will be opposite. If this is upward P3, in the beam the value will be equal and opposite direction, that is minus P3. So I can write here minus P3. Come to HL. Here in this beam what are the forces are acting? See, at this cross section P3 is positive, here 0.45 P2, here 0.7 P3, this is P3, and here 0.74 P3, right. So here if you consider this cross section, we have P3 plus 0.45 P3, and as you are calculating the beam shear, so you keep it one minus. So P3 is upward, so plus P3, 0.45 P3 is upward, so 0.45 P3, and as you are calculating in the beam, so opposite the sign, so we have minus P3 plus 0.45 P3. Okay. So within bracket you can write minus of P3 plus 0.45 P3. So we get minus 1.45 into 4.09 equals to 5.93 kilonewton, right. So in this way we can calculate the shear in the beam LM. What are the moment is, what are the shear is there in, this is P, in PO column, the same shear will be there in LP beam. So, what the shear force is working? The shear force in column PO is 0.74 P3. So, just you reverse it. So, you have minus 0.74 P3. You will have 3.02 kilonewton. In this way, you can calculate the remaining shear force in the beam for story 3 and story 4, and you will get these values. Okay. Now, we will calculate the beam shear. As we have calculated the beam shear, here we write, then we will calculate the beam moment. What is the formula? The beam moment will be beam shear into L divided by 2. You can calculate the beam moment in this way. So, beam shear into L divided by 2, you have 16.36 kilonewton in that particular beam. Okay. So, all the values are in kilonewton. In this story, the span of DH is 8 meter, HL is 6 meter and LP is 4 meter. So, in this way you can calculate the beam moment using this formula, that is beam shear into L divided by 2. You will get the beam moment for each beam. Okay. Now, we will calculate the column moment. Okay. How we will calculate the column moment? Just see here, we have this diagram, we have this building. In each column, we have to calculate the column moment. How we will calculate? In the exterior column, what are the moment is acting in beam, the same moment will be acting in the column in case of exterior joint. Okay. But in case of interior joint, what we will have? The moment in this beam plus this beam will be equal to the moment in this column. Similarly, here the moment is this beam plus this beam will be equals to the moment in this column. For this intersection, what will be the column moment? The beam moment of CG plus the beam moment of GK will be equals to the column moment of HG plus column moment of FG. The moment of this beam plus this beam will be equals to the moment of this column plus this column. Okay. So, here come to joint D, this joint. Okay. At this joint, we have MDH equals to MDC, and we calculated MDC equals to 16.36 because we calculated the beam moment in all the beams. So, we can write this beam moment will be equals to this column moment, as this is exterior joint. In case of exterior joint, we can write it. In this joint also we can write it. Okay. So, here DC column moment DC will be equals to beam moment DH. So, we can write 16.36. Now, come to H joint. In this joint, this beam moment will be equals, this beam moment plus this beam moment will be equals to this column moment. So, this beam moment we know. So, this beam moment we know, calculated 17 point, this beam moment, that is DH plus HL, DH plus HL, here DH plus HL, DH we calculated 16.36, HL we calculated 17.79. So, we can calculate this column moment, that will be equals to this beam moment plus this beam moment. Similarly, if you consider the joint L, we have this beam moment plus this beam moment will be equals to this column moment. So, in the previous slide, we calculated the beam moment for all the beams. So, how we will find out the column moment of LK column? Just add the beam moment of LH plus the beam moment of LP, you will get column moment of LK. Come to second story. What will be the column moment of BC? Come to second story. The column moment of CB plus the column moment of CD will be equals to beam moment of CG. This column moment plus this column moment will be equals to this beam moment. So, we calculated the beam moment CG in the previous slide, and here we calculated the beam moment of CD, that is 16.36. So, we can calculate the column moment of CB, that is column moment of CB equals to mcg, that is mcg, we know mcg is 65.6, previously we calculated in the earlier slide, minus mcd, that is cd we calculated how much, 16.36. so put it and you will get mcb equals to 49.24. come to G joint. In this joint, how will you calculate? This beam moment plus this beam moment equals to this column moment plus this column moment. Now CG you know, GC you know, in the previous slide you calculated GC, put it here. GK, in the previous slide we calculated beam moment, put it here. And GH we calculated here, 34.15, so put it also here. So you will get GF equals to 136.94 minus 34.15 equals to 108.79. so what I am doing, this beam moment and this beam moment we calculated in earlier slide. This column moment we calculated here, that is HG 34.79. so if you subtract this moment from this moment plus this moment, you will get this moment, because this beam moment plus this beam moment will be equals to this column moment plus this column moment. So in this way you can calculate the column moment of GF. Now come to kg. Similar rule you can apply. The beam moment kg plus the beam moment ko equals to column moment kl plus column moment kj. Column moment gk you have to calculate. So you have the beam moment ko in this joint, kj plus kl, kj plus kl will be equals to kg plus ko, So we calculate, we know this beam moment and this beam moment, and we know this column moment. In earlier we have calculated kl equals to 23.83. so what will be this column moment kj? This column moment kj will be equals to beam moment kg plus beam moment ko minus column moment kl. You will get column moment kj. So the column moment equals to kj equals column moment m kj equals to 70.757. Come to joint O, this column. Again same rule will be applied. Column moment ON plus column moment OP will be equals to beam moment OK. So how will you get this moment? Just subtract this plus this equals to this. So this equals to this minus this. So beam moment KO minus beam column moment OP. So we know column moment ON equals to this beam moment OK minus column moment OP. You will get 17.02 kilonewton meter. So in this way we calculated the column moment of second story and third story. Now we will calculate the column moment of story 1. Okay. Similar rule can be applied to calculate the column moment in story 1, and you will get these values. Okay. Now we will draw the shear force and bending moment diagram. Now first you draw the frame is given to you. First you draw the frame is given to you. This is the frame is given to you. Okay. One column, another column. Okay. This is 3 story. Okay. Now what are the shear forces you are getting in the beams and in the columns? You draw in this way. Suppose the shear in this beam is 40/3. So you draw 40/3. In this beam it is 40/9. So it will be little bit lesser. So you draw here. In this moment it is 20/3. It will be also little bit lesser. So you draw 20/3. Okay. Here also 40 by 3, so I will draw 40 by 3. 160 by 9, so I will draw 160 by 9. It is 80. This is 80 by 3, so I will draw 80 by 3. You just imagine what the value will come: 80 by 3, 160 by 9, 40 by 3, and according to this you match the scale of those shear forces in the beams. So again 80 by 3, 320 by 9, 160 by 3. So I have drawn all the shear forces in the beam. Now we will calculate the shear force in column. So what are the shear force? 20 by 3. So we will calculate 20 by 3 here, then 20 here, then 100 by 3 here. Okay. Next column, like this, and like this. Next column, you draw the shear force like this, shear force like this, and shear force like this. Next column, the shear force will be like this, shear force will be like this, and shear force will be like this. So in this way you can draw the shear force diagram of the given portal frame. Now you will draw the bending moment diagram. First you draw the given building, draw all the columns and beams with a suitable scale, then you draw the bending moment diagram. What are the bending moment is occurring in the beam? You draw like this, draw like this, draw like this. It will be like this, it will be like this. Okay. So this is the bending moment diagram of the beams. Now how the column bending moment? It will be like this, it will be like this, it will be like this, it will be like this. Okay. So in this way you can draw the column bending moment in this pattern. Okay. This is positive and this is negative. This is positive, this is negative. Positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay. And here positive. So in this way you can draw the bending moment of each beam and each column according to the calculated value. So this is the bending moment diagram and shear force diagram you calculated and you have drawn in this particular problem. I hope you have understood all the steps. This is very easy problem. Portal method and cantilever method very easy to derive and very easy to calculate the beam moment, beam shear, column moment, column shear, and eventually the shear force and bending moment diagram is a very easy work. So this method estimates the approximate value, approximate shear force and bending moment, but it does not calculate the exact value of shear force and bending moment. This is the approximate method because we have assumed the point of flexure will occur at the midpoint of the members, but this is not true. At this point, as we are assuming this point of counterflexure will be occurring at the midpoint for all the members, therefore the bending moment and shear force we are calculating approximate value but not exact. For approximate calculation we can assume the point of counterflexure may occur at the center point of the members. For approximate method, for approximate calculation of shear force and bending moment, we can adopt this portal method and method. Okay. Thank you. This is the assignment you solve and you submit within few days. 4-story building is given here. 1 story, 2 story, 3 story, 4 story. A 4-story building is given here. So you analyze this building by portal and cantilever method and you submit the assignment.